Lee was a self-professed atheist, and that didn't bother him one bit. What did bother Lee was that his neighbor kept inviting his wife to attend church with her. And then, worst of all, after she attended with the neighbor, Lee's wife was so moved by the experience that she wanted to continue to attend. Now, Lee was a journalist, so he got the idea to attend with his wife and prove to her that everything that she was beginning to believe was total and utter nonsense. As Lee set out on this journey, his marriage teetered on the edge of divorce. Because Lee had no higher power to believe in, Lee's higher power became hedonism. He believed that the purpose of life was pleasure, so that's what he sought. Lee had severe anger issues that went back to his childhood, even affecting his relationship with his now estranged father. To counteract that anger issue, Lee drank, partied, and lived a very narcissistic life. Undeterred by the approaching collapse of his marriage, Lee set off on a 1.5-year-long journey to disprove this Christianity cult that his wife had fallen into. Lee traveled the country, putting his investigative journalistic talents to use while interviewing 13 of the leading figures on the historical Jesus in America. Lee might lose his marriage, but he was not going to lose this fight. In today's gospel, Jesus is challenged once again by the Pharisees in an effort to trap him. They use the popular figure of John the Baptist to try and convince the people that this Jesus was a fraud. On whose authority do you teach? You see, in Jesus' time, to be a rabbi meant that you were teaching under the authority of some larger religious group, like the Pharisees, Sadducees, or even the Zealots. So what is Jesus' response? On whose authority does John teach? Jesus said. Is it on heaven's authority, or is it on man's authority? Knowing that Jesus had just painted them into a corner, he simply waited for their response. The Pharisees were stumped. You see, John the Baptist was a very popular figure, and many people thought him to be Elijah come back to prepare the way for the Messiah. The Pharisees said that John taught with heaven's authority, and that would be giving John earthly authority greater than their own. If they said that John was teaching on man's authority only, then the crowd might rise up against them. Jesus knew the debate that they would have, and knew that the Pharisees would not be able to answer the question. He left them with no answer to John's authority, nor to Jesus' own authority, but simply bested again by this rogue teacher that challenged their own authority. These teachers of faith had studied the Torah their whole lives, but they couldn't see the Messiah that they had been waiting for and studying right in front of their eyes. As Lee was nearing the end of his journey to disprove Jesus and his resurrection, Lee began to realize that it did not go as he had originally intended. Lee had set out to disprove these things, yet his investigation not only proved the historical Jesus, but also showed great historical evidence for the resurrection itself. When Lee returned home to his wife, he was a changed man. His experiences on the road had helped him to control his anger, had helped to mend his relationship with his wife, and, much to Lee's original dismay, had ignited the spark of faith within him. Now, it wasn't just Lee's wife attending church services. It was Lee attending them as well. As time passed, Lee left his high-paying job as a journalist and went to work for the local church as a teaching pastor. It was during this time that Lee began to work on a book that would eventually become a New York Times bestseller, The Case for Christ, and would eventually be made into a blockbuster movie with the same name. Lee, just like the Pharisees, set out to test Jesus, to remove his power on earth, to reveal him for the fraud that they thought he was. Yet it was Jesus who revealed himself in that moment. On our journey of faith we will encounter bumps on the road. There will be times when our faith is a struggle. But it is in those times that we find the love of God when we need it most. That Jesus puts us to the test, only to reveal himself